Chandra, I want to start here. 1984 Olympic trials, that record still has not been broken. You and I spoke on the phone, and you were telling me about your reaction when you saw. Go ahead, be honest, be real.
No, most definitely.
Yeah, what was it like for you to see? Because I know you're paying close attention, like, you know, blessings to them, but I don't want it to be broken. Tell me about that.
So at the 84 trials, at the 2008 trials, and I knew the young lady, Sonia Richard Ross, she was trying to go for the record. And as the gun went off, you know, I'm looking at her, I'm watching the clock, I'm looking at her. They go around the curve and they're coming to the back stretch. And she came across the line and did not break the record. I was like, yes! Oh, let's go USA. You know, that response was just priceless. So I can remember that, you know, that will be an ongoing remembrance.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. But, you know, we failed to mention just now, you were also a coach at that point, correct?
Yes, yes. Definitely. I was a coach on the team, and you know, I had to bring it back in perspective, like, okay, wait a minute. I'm cheering for the team. Not that she broke my record, but, you know, deep down inside, you want to keep your record. And 40 years later, I still have the record. So I have 4 more years to see if someone's going to break it. So yeah, at least I can hold on to that.
We're hoping it doesn't happen, right? We shall see. You know, if it eventually does, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we're here now at Savannah State and HBCU, and you currently teach at an HBCU. I want to know what it means to you to work at an HBCU. You're at Tennessee State University, where you went to college.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, you know, 30 years will be August that I worked at, that I am working at Tennessee State. And Tennessee State has been good to me. I can remember when I first took the job, I asked the Lord to not allow me to chase the dollar. And I felt like it'll come if I do the work. And as, you know, the years came on, the 9 championships, Tennessee State has been good to me. And I tried to go other places, or I had other interviews, and the Lord said no. You know, it was other reasons. And I can remember Tulane University, and they offered me the director of men and women's track, and the Lord told me no. And Katrina came the following year. So, you know, it's good to listen to the Lord, you know. But, you know, being a product of Tennessee State, HBCU, a great Olympic school. We had 40 Olympians to come out of Tennessee State under Coach Edward Temple. And so I am so proud to be my name spoken as a Tiger Belle and as a HBCU representative.
You mentioned your coach's name. It's so interesting, your story, to get back to TSU, because you got a phone call, you were like, I'm not interested. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. So in 1994, Ed Temple called, and he said he wanted me to apply for the job because he was ready to retire. And I'm like, I'm not going back to Nashville. I don't want to do that. So I didn't apply. Then Wilma Rudolph and Coach Temple was on the line, and both Wilma said, Cheese, Coach Temple really would think that you would do a good job. And so I applied for the job. 44 applicants. It went down to 11, from 11 to 4, and again, 30 years later, I'm still at Tennessee State.
Yeah, you say Wilma Rudolph like no big deal. That's a huge name, a part of that TSU legacy. It's got to feel good to be a part of that.
You know, Wilma and I were really good friends, and when Wilma got sick, I was able to go in the hospital and pray and read healing scriptures to her, and so we were really, really good friends. So yeah, it was like easy. I mean, I knew her children, would spend the night at her house, driving her car, you know, those type of things, that we were really good friends.
Yeah. You know, there's a reason I'm all the way in Savannah here just for you. You're a Jackson native. This is a huge deal, a Ribault graduate. Yes. You understand how proud folks in Jacksonville are of you, correct?
I hope so, yes, thank you. Yes, and thank you for driving down. I know that we were talking about, after we did the interview on the phone, you felt like, oh, this is not justice, and I thank you for that. And I told you I was coming to Savannah. It was like, oh, let me get there. And I appreciate that. That really made me feel that, you know, touch my heart, that you would drive from Jacksonville to see me and do an interview, and Thank you so much.
We appreciate you and all that you've done. I want to talk about your legacy, though, that you are leaving behind, not just in Tennessee, but also in Jacksonville. You have an invitational named just after you.
Yes. We're not sure on the year. I know it's all going to 30 years that the invitation has been going on, and with the help of Gwen Maxwell, who was my high school coach, along with Charlie Ham and one more. I can't think of his name right now. Think of it. Harold Porter. You know, they all made it happen. And from that, you know, it's a time that I have a 501c3. It's called Cheeseborough Striving for Excellence, and we were able to give out scholarships this past year. We gave out two, one for a male and one for a female. So we're excited about that and continue to get funds to give out scholarships during that time.
Can I delve into that just a little bit, the importance to you of giving back and why you want to provide these scholarships for our students? Tell us about that.
Well, you know, giving back is very important. As a freshman going off to college, sometimes you just don't have the basic needs every week. I can remember my high school coach sending me a care package. Every 2 weeks, I'm getting a care package. I'm going over to the post office. I was excited because either it was going to be a box with some of the things that I like or a check in the mail. And that goes a long way to being a freshman, especially if you're away from home. Yeah.
You were back with us recently in March for a bridge being named in her honor.
Yes. Oh my God, it was so touching because I can remember talking with Representative Kim Daniels and, you know, asking her, is it possible? And she made it happen. So along with the Maxie Girls, there's another 50c3 that's named after Miss Maxwell. Her daughter started that one, and it's called the Maxie Girls. And those are the young ladies that Miss Maxwell touched through the years. So it runs deep. Shakita Maxwell is Miss Maxwell's daughter, and she would always say we took her per diem or whatever you call it. Now her stipend, as we were going to college, she was in college, but Miss Maxwell was just an awesome a woman and a grateful woman, and we love her dearly.
Those of us who are athletes, former athletes, we know how important it is to have a good coach. They will set you straight in a heartbeat, make sure that you are on the right path. You had that for you in your life, and now you're providing that to others as an actual coach. What does that mean to you to be able to do that?
You know, it's a blessing because I can remember the student athletes. When I went to Tennessee State, my first year, I brought in 10 recruits, and all of them was from Florida because I knew the land, you know. It was easy to recruit from Florida because I was a high school coach, and my last job before I went to Tennessee State was at Lee High School. And so from that, the young ladies, I would take them to church and, you know, give them the word and also give them food afterward. They would come to my house and eat dinner. And so out of the 10 people, 9 of them got saved. So that was a blessing for me, you know. I was asking the Lord to, you know, what else can I do besides track? And that's another way I minister to the young ladies through feeding them and taking them to church.
I heard you use the word development before when it comes to your athletes. What does it mean to you to develop an athlete? Because some folks say if you're not born with it, you know, you can forget the Olympics, forget these scholarships. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when I say development, that doesn't mean you don't have no talent. You got to have something. And I'm going to make the quote that my coach said, you can't take a donkey to the Kentucky Derby. So you got to have something to work with. But with that being said, they're not say for an example, a 10.5 sprinter. You may get a 10.8 and develop them to be a 10.5. And a female, you may get a jumper that was jumping 39, but now you have her jumping 42. So, you know, we work and get down dirty with them and just develop them and bring them up to the national standards. Yeah.
You know, I've heard you say before, I've seen it, you are a lot of firsts, right? But of all of the accolades that you've received, what means the most to you?
Oh, wow. I think one of them is being the first to run the 4x1 and the 4x4 at the same Olympics in an hour's time. So that'll never happen again, but someone else, I think Alex and Felix got 2 goals in the relay, but the time difference, you know, it wasn't, they changed the schedule, so that made the time difference. So, oh gosh, I was the first of two to go under 22, me and Evelyn Ashford. Wow.
There's a couple of
Yeah, I know, but you know, I'm telling you. Yes, it's awesome.
It really is. Tell me a little bit about family life and what that was like for you growing up in Jacksonville.
Well, in Jacksonville, you know, being the baby of the family, I felt like I was catered to. You know, I would always do sports like basketball. You know, I played basketball, and basketball is dear to my heart. I was a basketball star. I wouldn't brag about track, but I always brag about basketball. But, you know, I would stay after school to get in all sports. I wouldn't have to go home and do chores. But that didn't work. I still had to go home. But being the baby of the family, you know, they had to do a lot that they didn't want to do. And that was like really bad, but real scary at night. It was crazy, but you know how you do the things during the day and then at nighttime you just be so like scared of the dark and stuff like that. But you know, just being a regular kid. Family was good.
Bothering you? It's okay. Are you okay? I'm fine. Okay. Yeah, because I spoke to your sister. I was like, were you spoiled? When you hear the youngest of 5, you're kind of like, okay, she was spoiled. But she says everyone was, so don't feel bad about that. Yeah. And how was Mom? Was she pretty strict?
Yes, Mom was strict. But, you know, we had a really good family life. My mom was a nurse at one of the local hospitals. So I would consider we were middle class, you know, even though we were a single, you know, parent home. But my mom made sure that we never worked, like summer jobs, none of us. So my mom did a great job in making sure that we had what we needed. I think my first summer job was when I did the interview with Abbott Chester. When I went to college, when I came home for that summer, that was my first job ever.
What exactly?
It was called Summer Fun, working with youth in Jacksonville. Yeah, so we would take them to summer camps. We would take them learn how to swim, you know, things like that, arts and craft. And so that was my first job as a first-year freshman out of college. Yeah.
You know, Chandra, when I speak with athletes who were really good, let's say back in the day, they get a little angry when you think about things like NIL deals or what's going on with the current climate when it comes to athletics, not just in college now, but high school as well. I want to know your thoughts on that, to see these kids are getting paid to do what we did for fun.
You know what, and for the United States and for your country or whatever, but it's a different day and time. And, you know, you can't be angry about things like that because someone had to pave the way. And in order for them to get what they got, we had to come through the trenches to make it happen. So, you know, I'm excited that they are getting paid now. If we would have just waited a little more, we could have waited and got some money too. But again, you know, everything has a time and a place. Yeah.
I mean, you know, there are some serious concerns, though, with that. In my opinion, I'm just going to put it out there, is that you think about the respect level. You know, in some cases, you have students making more than their own coaches. And when they're a little younger, the respect level might not be there.
And you know what? I thought about that because it is going to be some student athletes making more than the coach. And the thing with that, the new portal thing, the kids just jumping in and out. And, you know, I think we're maybe losing a little hand on it, but they're gonna have to reel it in. It's very new, and so you got to work out the kinks. And so I don't think that I will recruit a kid that's gonna be disrespectful. That's one of my pet peeves. You gotta speak in the morning. And my thing is, did I sleep with you? If you walking by me and didn't say good morning, I'm like, did I sleep with you? I'm like, huh? We didn't get up at the same time, you know? So, yeah, that's truly a big pet peeve of mine. You got to have respect, and that'll take you a long way. Yeah.
That's something you need to hammer home to our kids these days, you know, saying things like that for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. I want to talk about women's sports in general. You mentioned you played basketball, the WNBA. The popularity now is something that I didn't think we were going to get to, right? But we're here. It'll get better. Right. But maybe your thoughts to see that, how far we've come in women's sports and its popularity.
Man, I'm excited because my love for basketball is great. And when I went off to college, I wanted to play in college. But my college coach, I remember the basketball coach went to Coach Temple and asked could I play basketball. And Coach Temple said, but shoot, you go get you a Chandra Cheeseborough like I did. End of story. No.
He did not.
Yes,
he was that blunt.
Yes.
How was he as a coach? We didn't talk about
That
that.
blunt. Well, Coach Temple didn't play, but he was a well-respected, never had any flaws like in the community. And people say, yeah, Coach Temple used to run with them fast girls, but they were talking about us as runners, But, a well-respected man, an honorable man, a Q, yeah, Omega Psi Phi man, yeah. But, yeah, Coach Temple was awesome, yeah. So I can remember my first championship in 2002. I was like, I called him on the ride back from Murray, Kentucky. I remember that. I was like, Coach Temple, I won. He was like, well, shoot, good job, Cheese. I know you could do it. And that was just a proud moment to hear him tell me, good job. And so, that's when I settled in and knew that this job was for me. And I was honored that Coach Temple passed it down to me.
You're speaking of him with such reverence. What do you think your current athletes would say about you and the type of coach that you are?
My athletes, I think they would say, not this generation, but the ones that came before them, and we're still working on the new ones. I can remember I had a young lady from Orlando, Florida, and I just would push Belinda, and she was just really hesitant. She was a good triple jumper, could have went far in it, and I would always tell her, much is given, much is required. And she didn't understand what I was talking about. And now that she's grown and have married with 2 kids, she came back to my university last year. She was just so grateful and saying, thank you, Coach Cheese. I understand what you're saying now. Much is given, much is required. She said, I didn't realize what you were saying, but I get it now. I get it, and I thank you. And she wrote a book, did a book and forwarded it to me, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what it's all about. You impart these little nuggets into people, they harvest it and come back and tell you, you were right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a lot of other stories like that too. Still in contact with student athletes. I had one, this is so funny, I had one student athlete, they went to a cross-country meet. I was doing some recruiting, and they asked could they ride. I was like, oh yeah, you can ride. And so one young lady stayed in the city, and she went home and left the young lady at her house while she went out, and oh my God, the young lady was furious and she wanted to fight her. I was like, no, we told you don't go. And so she went there, and when she came to the hotel, she thought she was gonna fight her and I was gonna let her fight her. I was like, no, I can't do that. I said, okay then, you wanna fight, just fight me. She was like, no, I wanna fight her, She ended up leaving, wouldn't ride back with us. It was just a mess. And when I tell you this girl called me, her twin boys called me Mimi. It was like a week of not track. She called me, asked could she come back. And to this day, we are so close. Yeah. She is doing excellent. I mean, came from Dayton, Ohio, married a good man from Nashville, Tennessee, and they have a blessed life.
Yes, you've got to be proud to see that too as a coach. They kind of become your kids.
Yes, absolutely. Now I have a lot of grandkids. Not in the natural, but yeah.
I understand. I was really impressed to the more I read about you, the more I'm just like, oh my word. And for one, there's something that many of us will never experience, what you did, that Olympic experience. What was that like for you? Tell us about it, all of it.
Well, going to the Olympics at 17, we just was having fun. We were so excited that we made the team. We were in Montreal, Canada, doing our own thing, and I remember the manager at the time was Evie Dennis, and she called Coach Temple, and I was saying that on the interview. She took us to the phone booth, and everybody had to get on the phone one by one and talk to Coach Temple, because it was 3 of us that made it to the Olympics from Tennessee State. And so I was still in high school, and the other two were probably like freshmen or sophomores in college. And so we were excited, you know, and just staying up in the village and just not doing what we needed to do. But after we got that call from Coach Temple, you know, we got on the right track. And from that, you know, I ended up placing 6th in the world. And so being a 17-year-old, and I feel like that's one of my great accomplishments as well, being in the finals and placing 6th.
I mean, fast forward to 1984, you're not just showing up, but you're winning gold ×2, plus your silver. What's that like on that podium? Because, you know, the Olympics are about to start, the opening ceremony. And again, many of us will never experience that. What is that like being an Olympic gold medalist, being out there on that podium?
Well, it was an honor. You know, I said this, you know, in the 400, I thought I should have won the open 4, but just learning how to run the 4, I hadn't really had the experience because I went to a track meet and ended up breaking a 10-year record, just playing around. And so we decided that, oh, maybe you'll have a chance in this. I ended up getting bronchitis out in LA, the smog and stuff. So I went to the Olympic coach and asked him, do he think that I can try out for the 4x1 and the 4x4? And he said, absolutely. And that was the first of opening up, you know, people running the 4x1 and the 4x4. And I remember running the 3rd leg to Evelyn Ashford. And I won the trials with the record, and he continued, even though I didn't win the 400, he still had me the anchor leg, and you know, it's history. We ran an Olympic record. It's an honor just to do the opening ceremony, and I hope that everybody, and I know this day and time it's about money, winning the gold, and the more gold medals you win, the more money you're gonna get, but it's an experience to walk in the opening ceremony. And when you walk in that stadium and, you know, everybody's cheering for the United States, and it's so awesome. And when I tell you, you can't believe it. It's mind-blowing. It's something that everybody, if you got an opportunity to do it, they should do it, along with the closing ceremony. It's all good. It's just a part of sports and winning. Yeah.
Kind of feel like you were slighted back in 1980. We know what happened at Olympics with the boycott. I mean, in 2020, all of our athletes were upset, understandably. How did you feel back then?
In 1980, you know, we still went to the Olympic trials. I was in the 1 and the 2. I made it. I think I won the 2 and got 2nd in the 100. And we did our thing. But not going was disappointing. But I still was in college. So that means in '84, I had an opportunity to go back. But my teammates, they didn't have an opportunity. And some of them felt slighted and a little bitter that they didn't have that opportunity because the sponsorship wasn't there back in '80 for, you know, those athletes to continue to train without a job. And so in 1984, I was the first black female sprinter for Nike. And so the name of the sprint team was the Athletic West, and so I was a member of Athletic West. So yeah, opportunities, I'm telling you, yeah.
I mean, breaking all these glass ceilings, breaking down barriers, you kind of walk around. I would think that you would walk around with, you know, your nose up in the air. You're pretty darn humble. Is that because the sister, she won't let you? Big sister?
But no, I mean, why walk around like that, you know? But again, you know, when you were saying different records, the Tiger Bells was the first world record holder for Nike. And for the 50th year of women in sports, what was it called? Title IX. Nike honored us. They brought us out and they honored us at the Civil Rights Museum. There's a big poster, probably about 15 feet, that was hanging on the wall. There were 3 Tiger Bells coming across the finish line in all Nike apparel. And so they honored us for 50 years in women in sports. Yeah, yeah.
Now, we were talking about this and how far women in sports have come, but we still have a ways to go. Can you speak to that? Because women's sports are still, in my opinion, disrespected. They don't get the attention it needs, the funding it needs or deserves.
Right.
Your thoughts about that?
you know, we again, like you said, we do have a long way to go, but we have come a long way. We're not equal pay, and that's not in sports. That's everywhere on every arena, which we haven't made it yet. But we got to keep striving, and we got to be a advocate about it. We can't just sit back, oh, they giving me this. No, if you deserve it, and if you prove worthy that you're the best news reporter, give me my pay. You know what I'm saying? Stay in athletics. So yeah, we just got to show them by doing it. You know, and I know that's Nike slogan, just do it, but that's how things happen. You got to pave the way for somebody else. And you may not get the pay, but somebody else will.
That's a good point. You're here bucking me up. You said news report. Okay. I want more money. Anything at all you feel the need to add or mention? Because as I said, this is for a series called Changemakers, where we speak with influential people about how they got to where they are. And there's folks watching who are going to be like, how do I get there? I mean, deep down, what does it really take to get to be on that type of stage?
I think that you got to follow your passion. And once you follow your passion, it's going to open doors, and it's going to take you to a place that God has already designed for you, you know. But sometimes we get off track. And getting off track doesn't mean that I still can't do it. You just got to learn that you got to get back on track, and you just got to keep pushing. And this is what I leave with every student athlete. Whatever you start, complete. You know, we have so many people starting and they quit. So that's near and dear to my heart. Whatever you start, just complete it. Finish the course.